Happy Halloween, everybody. This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. An interesting scenario this week with Chad Morris and Joe Moorhead facing each other. Two coaches that are listed 1 and 2 on CoachingHotSeat.com. We're going to discuss some of that. We're going to get into this Mississippi State game, talk a little basketball, talk a little recruiting as well. Keith Grayson is going to join us. All that and more on Hog Sports Live. Okay, a couple of things before we get started. I want to get into a couple of housekeeping items, and this is a big deal for us, okay? So right now at HawgSports.com, you can get CBS All Access for free with your Hog Sports subscription. It doesn't matter if you're a monthly subscriber or a yearly subscriber. It doesn't matter if you signed up in the past or if you're going to sign up because of this or because of something else. As long as you are a Hog Sports subscriber, you will get CBS All Access. That's a $99 value, and it's not just the 1 year. I mean, it's as long as you have your Hog Sports subscription. As long as you have it, you will get CBS All Access. So HawgSports.com is just $1 for your first month right now, or 30% off for your first year. That comes with a 7-day free trial also for the annual option, and you get CBS All Access. It's simple to set up. It's explained right there on the homepage, and that's a great offer. So basically for a $99 subscription to HawgSports.com for an annual, you get CBS All Access, which is a $99 subscription. So it's just one more thing that we wanted to do to enhance our product. There's no plans to ever raise subscription prices. There's no plans for taking this offer away. This offer is going to be there for a while. So just another great thing that we're able to provide at 24/7 Sports with our connections through CBS, our parent company. So I want to remind everybody there's plenty of ways to watch and listen, always streaming on Facebook Live. YouTube, we upload immediately after. If you haven't followed Facebook Live page, go ahead and follow now. If you're not subscribed to YouTube, go ahead and subscribe now and hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime we upload new content. Throw us a thumbs up if you like the content that we provide if you haven't done so already, and be sure to share it with somebody else if you think they might like it. Always available on Apple Podcasts as well. We're the #1 rated Razorback show on Apple Podcasts, so go ahead and throw us a review and a rating. We'd love to have that from you. Help boost our channel anytime someone search for Arkansas Razorbacks. Also on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, somewhere else. A lot of places now. So plenty of ways to watch and listen, and we certainly appreciate you guys following us there. As I mentioned, Keith Grayson is going to join us here in a little bit, but I want to get to a couple of things here before that. So Arkansas has a big visit weekend coming. You got 4 visitors coming. Connor O'Toole is the latest one that was announced, a wide receiver out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, who has some options out there. Washington State, Baylor, Utah, Arizona. Arkansas, Washington State, Baylor are believed to be his top schools right now. 6'3", 205 pounds out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Aaron Moore, also a linebacker that Arkansas has been in on for quite some time now. Arkansas, Memphis, Missouri are a few of the schools that are interested in him. But Aaron Moore is a guy that's been on their radar for a long time, finally coming in for his official visit. Mike Harris out of Phoenix City, Alabama, Central High School, same high school as Monte Spivey. Arkansas obviously has some connections there, but that's another guy to keep an eye on for this weekend's visit, a safety. Arkansas can always use defensive backs. That's a big priority in this class, getting defensive backs. Brady Ward is another name that's popped up a whole lot out of the state of Alabama, Mobile, St. Paul's Episcopal, 6'7", 310-pound offensive lineman. Has had a lot of schools that, some schools I think have moved on as they've gained commitments, but Florida State, Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama, in addition to Arkansas, are some of the schools that have been after him. So Brady Ward's a name that's been out there for quite some time. Moses Moody's down to 3 schools. Arkansas native out of Little Rock who's transferred to Montverde Academy last year. But Arkansas, Michigan, Virginia would be the newer name in there. There are some reports out there. I think a reporter out of Michigan had Arkansas, believing Arkansas to be the leader. That would obviously be big. I mean, there's 5 guys from this state that are very highly coveted, originally from this state. Not all of them are playing in this state anymore, but 5 guys that Arkansas would love to get on the commitment list from the state of Arkansas, and Moses Moody down to 3, and not far off from making a decision either. This is a cool story. Brandon Allen slated to make his first start, and we had a chance to talk to Bobby Allen, former Razorback coach, now in the offices there at the University of Arkansas, has been for some time. But Brandon Allen making his NFL debut and his first start. He's been in the NFL for a number of years now, drafted in the 6th round in 2016 by Jacksonville Jaguars. So this will be his first regular season action and his first start as well. Good to see that Bobby Allen, and I guess his mom isn't going to be able to come, but Bobby Allen, Austin Allen, his sister will all be able to be there, and I think some extended family also. So cool deal. Brandon Allen's a guy that caught a lot of flack, but has literally the 85th best season in college football history from a quarterback. When you consider the entire scope of college football, that's pretty impressive. So Brandon Allen caught a lot of flack, but had a really strong senior year, led him to an 8-5 record. Kickoff time set for Arkansas and Western Kentucky. It's going to be, what time is it? 11 p.m. Or 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's the first Central Standard Time game. This weekend is the last Central Daylight Time game against Mississippi State at 3 p.m. on SEC Network. So they'll meet the Hilltoppers at 11 a.m. on Saturday, November 9th on SEC Network. And that's going to be an interesting because Ty Storey is involved in that one. Ty Storey, who's playing pretty well right now. Ty Storey's playing pretty well. What happens if Ty Storey walks in here and beats Arkansas? Could be weird. And that brings me to Arkansas's quarterback situation. Arkansas's quarterback situation under Chad Morris. So if you go back, if you look at this year, right now, Arkansas quarterbacks have completed 159 of 296 passes, which is 53.7% for 1,860 yards. 10 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. That's Ben Hicks and Nick Starkel and John Stephen Jones all combined. Okay? Starkel currently leads the team with 5 starts and 1,118 passing yards. Okay, so remember, 159 of 296 passing, 53.7% for 1,860 yards, 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Last year, Arkansas was 127 of 235, which is 54%, so slightly better, not noticeable, anything big, but 54% completion percentage, fewer attempts, fewer completions, so slightly fewer yards, 1,587 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Okay, Ty Storey was 81 of 142 for 983 yards at this point in 5 starts. 5 interceptions compared to 7 touchdowns. So Arkansas's passing game, they've thrown for fewer yards with fewer attempts and everything, but their efficiency rating is slightly higher than last year. And that's just significant to me when you consider you had 2 guys leave the program, transfer out, and you had 2 guys come in from the grad transfer market. And on the surface, this is like, well, this is an obvious upgrade. I mean, just watching Ben Hicks throw the ball, they didn't have a guy with, a throwing motion like that last year when you consider the older quarterbacks. And then, obviously watching Nick Starkel in practice, just like, yeah, that guy's got it. He's the guy. And that is, Nick Starkel's exhausted every opportunity to be the starting quarterback at Arkansas. It's just not working out, and really has cost them a couple of wins this season, a few wins. He has cost them a few wins this season. So maybe if things have been a little differently at quarterback, maybe if Ty Storey comes back to Arkansas, maybe we're talking about a win over Kentucky and San Jose State, and maybe we're looking at these last 4 games and thinking, well, they got to win, a couple of these last 4 games, and they're in a bowl game. That seems realistic. Everybody's rhetoric is completely altered if that happens. Kentucky, San Jose State, 2 games they should have won. If they won those games, then everything's different. They probably played differently against Auburn and Alabama as well, with a lot more to play for. But it's not like that. It's a lot different now. There's a lot of discussion. We're going to bring Keith Grayson on here in a minute, and we're going to talk about coaching hot seat, some of the things that were asked of Joe Moorhead and Chad Morris a little bit ago. But I want to get to this real quick before we jump into bringing Keith in, because the NCAA has taken that next step, and we didn't talk about this because this happened Monday after the show had already aired. But the NCAA has voted on starting the process of allowing players to profit off their name, image, and likeness. So I don't know how they're going to figure this out, how it's going to work out. I do think it's probably the right thing to do, but it opens up all kinds of other questions, like now these guys aren't amateur athletes. Do you tax their scholarship? There was I think a senator in North Carolina who brought that up. Is that going to make it a wash if you have to tax stuff like that? How do you regulate it? How do you keep everything on an even playing field? Is this something that's going to be good for Arkansas or good for the programs that haven't been cheating already? Because now everybody can figure out a way to get athletes paid versus before. I mean, there's obviously cheating going on in college football. There's no question about that. So, just the questions are like what level, how high is the activity thing. So is this something that's going to balance thing out? Is it going to make the rich richer? A lot of questions. How do you regulate this to keep it on an even playing field for everybody so you still have that sense of competition that you can compete? You have to keep that. The NFL has it a little differently because they try to keep things more balanced. You draft players and stuff like that. With college, it's about recruiting players. So it's a totally different landscape. I don't know how it's going to work. It's a lot of discussion to be had between now and January 21st of how this thing works out. Let me know if you've got any thoughts on this, but I don't know how they're going to figure it out. But I do think it's a step in the right direction. But at the same time, when you consider if you have to pay taxes on stuff like that, how does that balance out? How does that balance out for the student athlete? Do you do stuff like you bring back the NCAA video game, which I really hope they do? Do you bring that back and just everybody gets kind of a blanket payment? I mean, people aren't paying for that game just so they can play with Tua Tagovailoa. That's not why they're playing. They're playing so they can play with their team, their roster. If somebody's left off the roster, then it just feels incomplete. It doesn't feel authentic. So everybody has to be all in. You're going to have situations where certain players sponsor their own game, and they're left out of this game because of that. How do you deal with jerseys in an advertisement like the University of Arkansas? Can a player wear that jersey? All kinds of questions like that. I don't know how it's going to work out, but it's a very interesting topic. I mean, this is a big time change in what has been allowed in the past. And there are several things that I've said before you got to keep consistent. You got to keep the fans. The fans' interest has to be there. It's a very important part of college athletics. The players have to be taken care of. Make sure you're doing what's in the best interest of the student athlete. The coaches, staff, administrators, all those people play a big role, obviously. And then the overall integrity and interest in the game. You have to protect the game. None of this would be talked about with all the guys that came in the past that poured the blood, sweat, and tears just like these college athletes did now, who have it better than anybody before them. They have it better right now than anybody before them. Now they're in more of the public eye. People can come at them on Twitter and stuff more like that, and that kind of sucks for the players. I mean, somebody just sitting around their home and just attacking players, via Twitter and stuff. So that kind of sucks. But when you consider cost of tuition, everything that these athletes are afforded, all of that stuff, there's never been a better time to be a college athlete. And all of this is built on the game of football, which none of this would be possible. Not their scholarship, not the potential endorsements that we're talking about now, none of the fandom, none of the fame, all that stuff. None of that would be popular without what people did in the past. And, people who were thankful for what they had in college athletics back then. So, again, a step in the right direction. I mean, the stuff has gotten so crazy with coaches making, $12 million a year with Saban, a lot of coaches making $8 million, a lot of coaches making $6 million. I mean, with all of that money that's being generated with ticket prices, I mean, heck, how much of a difference if you could fill Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium? First of all, you get 76,000 people in there. I mean, if you charge everybody an extra $1 or $2 for their ticket, I mean, how much would that go towards, helping players out, each game? Something to think about. All right. A few of my ideas. We're going to get to the main topic here. Where's my Keith Grayson graphic? But I want to bring in Keith because he always has an interesting take. Keith has been rambling all over the place. I think he was camping last night. So it's Halloween, and you have Keith Grayson out camping. I mean, that's just asking for it, isn't it? Has you ever seen a horror movie before?
What up, Trey?
What's up, Keith? So, Keith, I was just telling everybody, we're going to jump into this coaching hot search thing, but I want to talk about what you're doing right now because here it is Halloween night, and you act like you've never seen a horror movie, and you're out camping in Colorado by yourself?
That's not the way I go. I think I've had dreams about going in a plane crash. That's probably how I die.
You think it's going to be a plane crash?
Definitely not of old age.
Yeah, definitely not of old age.
I'm into white people extreme camping. What are you giving me stuff about on Halloween? You're like the ultimate. Weren't you like Marie Antoinette last year or something? You get so dressed up for Halloween. It's like
I was not Marie Antoinette. I don't think I dressed up last year for Halloween.
Oh, whatever. It's my favorite holiday of the year. I mean, you go all out for it.
I enjoy it. My wife really loves it, and I have a 6-year-old daughter. One year, so my wife has curly hair, and my daughter's redheaded, as you know, and I'm no-headed, no hair. So we went. I was Daddy Warbucks, she was Miss Hannigan, and my daughter was Annie, and it was a beloved. We won every competition that we entered as a family, but that was the last time we did like a family thing. My favorite one that I've done recently, I was Bruce Willis Die Hard for a Christmas party. You had to dress as a Christmas character, and Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
You just get dressed up all the time. I love costumes.
I like it. Yeah, I like adult Halloween. I don't know why, but I do. It's just fun.
The best place to do Halloween is Vegas, and that was my all-time favorite. You know, speaking of which, dealing all these losses, I can't do it now because I'm in a serious committed relationship, but the best way to deal with these losses has always been to go to a strip club.
Okay. Take your mind out of it in some kind of way. I dealt with it in Lexington by going to see the Joker movie. I had a 7 p.m. flight, so I saw the Joker. But interesting take there, Keith Grayson.
So the whole coaching hot seat thing. I mean, it's how everybody processes stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, they sometimes people don't know what they're looking at. And again, I'm not saying what's going now. Here comes your negative reviews, by the way, on Apple after I start speaking my mind on how this is going to shake out. But I just don't know. You can't fire somebody after a year and a half of a recruiting cycle. It's one. I mean, that's all he's got. And if the talent level was as low as it's been and as low as everybody saw, and I think what a lot of people in their feelings are, and they just say fire Chad at every response online or whatever, is a culmination of everything that happened with Bielema too. I mean, it's just frustration from a lot of different areas, and they don't know how to process it. And that's the ultimate take, is they're just going to say fire Chad Morris when you had come out and said you blame this whole season on Nick Starkel. It's his fault.
I blame a lot of it on Nick, and I hate to come down on a single player, but I mean his play in some of these games has just flat out cost them. And you're right. I mean, the best possible scenario, and people may not want to hear this, but the best possible scenario is if they win 3 of these last 4 games and carry it over into next year, no matter what happens next year. I mean, I think he's got to get to a bowl game next year to keep his job, maybe better, but I think that's the best possible scenario when you consider recruiting and all of that stuff. And it would also require this team actually coming together and fighting and showing some fortitude, you know. That's what it would take. But, I mean, Keith, you know as well as I do, I don't think things are going to end well if they don't win another game this season. I don't think it ends very well. And, you know, we can say, you know, every coach deserves this more time. But if you talk to Rick Schaefer, he will tell you that Frank Broyles was ready to fire Jack Crow after 2 years. Was ready to fire him and couldn't because he ended up, I think, salvaging a bowl game. I think they won the bowl game maybe. So he couldn't fire him, but he ended up firing him, you know, because he knew he'd made a mistake. So, you know, I don't know that that's necessarily a good look. I don't know how that would play nationally. But, I mean, right now Arkansas is really the butt of everybody. Anybody who brings up Arkansas has a joke to make. The Colin Cowherd did it yesterday or the day before. I mean, everybody has something negative to say about Arkansas. And are they the worst team in FBS? There's a lot of people that think so.
Well, I mean, go back and look at when the original hire was made and what people wanted. You wanted some recruiting influence in Texas. You got to get back to Texas.
Done a great job in that regard.
I wasn't really about that because look at Texas A&M in Texas, and they're getting all Texas kids. I mean, and TCU to some regard as well. I mean,
there are other examples also. Look at Oklahoma State and Oklahoma; they're getting Texas kids.
Sure. So they wanted Malzahn. So some people wanted Malzahn, and the comparison has been made is that Chad Morris has Gus Malzahn's running schemes with a more complex passing concepts behind it. So, I mean, and he's got the background of an offensive guy, and it seemed like he gets what it takes in Arkansas. I mean, he's bought into the community. I know everybody's saying his family hasn't moved there yet, but
I think that's things people are just looking for things to bitch about, really, when it comes to that, because I mean, like like him going to watch his son play on Friday nights. First of all, go watch your son play. He's the quarterback at Highland Park. You're not going to get that very often. I mean, that's going to run out. So the thing is, coaches go on the road to recruit Friday night anyway. Everybody has this idea like they're all huddled up, getting the final game plan in on a Friday night. No, most of these coaches are out on the road recruiting, and here you have Chad Morris, who's able to do it earlier at a program like Highland Park, who also plays other big-name programs, also was able to do stuff like go to the opening, which no other college coach can go to. So, yeah, take advantage of it. People talk about it like it's a bad thing. Chad doesn't live far from me. I mean, he lives not even a mile away from me. He doesn't live a mile away from me. I know his dad stays there a lot at his house, and Chad lives there. They also have a place in Montana, I think. I mean, should he not have a place in Montana? But it's, these people are going back and forth, hopping on a plane, going to Dallas and hopping back. I just don't think it's a big deal. There are plenty of other things for us to complain about with this coaching staff versus him going to see his son play, or them staying in Texas at Highland Park versus, uprooting his kid right before his junior season of high school, and obviously he needs a parent there with him. So I think people are making a bigger deal out of that, but people are mad. I don't blame people for being upset and mad about the way things are going. And, when you do that, you find everything to complain about.
Yeah. I mean, thank God nobody's set Nick Starkel's Prius on fire yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think the line's going to be in the Western Kentucky game? So we're -7 against Mississippi State's 7-point favorite against the Hogs, maybe 6.5. I think Mississippi State's going to cover and probably win like 30-21.
Yeah.
What do you think the line's going to be in Western Kentucky?
I picked Mississippi State 31-21, Keith. You think alike.
Oh.
I think that you probably get Arkansas favored by like 4 points. 4 or 5 points. It's usually like a 4-point home field advantage, so they might look at it as a wash and go 4 points. It depends on how the Mississippi State game, but if it goes like you said it would, they lose by 9 or 10 points to Mississippi State at home, then I think it could be a slight favor for Arkansas against
So
Western
if it stays close during the Mississippi State game, when do you get the two quarterbacks everybody wants to see? When do you get John Stephen Jones or KJ in there?
You can't, and here's the crux of that. So if Ben Hicks is playing well, it's a tight game. I think it's going to be Ben Hicks that starts. I'm not saying it should, but I think that's the way it's going right now. I mean, they don't have wins to show for it, but I think they feel it gives them the best chance to win, which is a weird thing to say when you only have 2 wins. And but I think they start with Hicks, and if the game is close and they feel Hicks is playing well, then we might not see – I think we'll see John Stephen. We might not see KJ. And if they lose a close game, then everybody's going to be livid. They're going to be mad.
Can we educate some of the fans on what the RPO is? Because they're like, you got to put in a running quarterback to run the RPO. I've heard this constantly. John Stephen Jones is running midline zone read in there against Alabama. That's what was working. He's reading the 3-tech on like kind of an outside zone to the running back, and then he's keeping it based on if the 3-tech opens up.
He has to be a willing runner who is capable, but doesn't have to be like a speed demon or anything. But has to be a guy that's capable. He can't be like, I don't think Nick Starkel can run it very well.
The RPO can be a pocket passer.
Yes.
You can either run the zone. Well, you can run zone outside, and then you're reading the Sam linebacker and sometimes the strong safety.
Yeah.
And you're reading them on when to throw the ball. So it's run to the running back and pass based on what the linebacker or safety or whatever your read is, and those are the options. Now, you add a different element to that, and it becomes more of another option when you have somebody in there that can run the ball. But that is not RP. Just the term is getting used where it's like we're not running the RPO. We're running RPO concepts every game with Nick Starkel and Ben Hicks.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, they work on it every day in practice and stuff. It does add a different dynamic, though, if you have that third option of the quarterback taking off. And by the way, I don't know if I properly introduced you, Keith. For those who don't know Keith, who don't listen to the show regularly, Keith is in real estate in Arizona. He is does college football, or excuse me, high school football coach on the side. What are you, linebackers now?
I'm secondary.
Secondary
the
coach.
Season's over. That's what prompted this trip. Is the season
is
over. So I left the day after.
And also a huge Razorback fan. Been with us at HawgSports.com for over a decade. I mean, a long time. And is also the disgraced former president and founder of the Arizona Razorback Club as well. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, and Grayson Real Estate is now sponsoring Traylon Burks and Trey Knox as our spokespersons.
Well, you can do that in January 2021, and that's another great question. Like, can Trey Knox, can he sponsor HawgSports? Can he be the spokesperson of HawgSports?
Hey.
What's stopping that?
Ask for instead of asking for permission, just ask for forgiveness later. Just do it. Just roll with it. See if you can guess.
Especially with it being so new.
What if Trey Biddy gets his bowl ban? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, no one would forgive that.
Some notoriety.
I'd have to go find another gig.
No, man. Thanks for ruining my vacation. Fucking Hogs football. I'm out driving down I-70. This is my second favorite places to go out to do a road trip outside of the Pacific Coast Highway. Mm-hmm. I'm camping all outside. I just got back from Aspen. Camped there is -12 last night, and the inside of my tent froze. Yeah. So that was.
This just has the making of a slasher movie.
Well, I mean, it's the sequel to Alive, but everybody gets out in this one. If those hippie soccer players would have been with me, everybody would have lived.
Keith Grayson joining us on HawgSports Live. Again, if you haven't thrown us a thumbs up, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up now. Available on Facebook Live, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, or just about it. Google Podcasts. I can't even remember what the Google thing is, but plenty of ways to watch and listen on HawgSports Live. What do you think about this game, Keith? You think Arkansas is going to pull it out? I think Arkansas is a 7-point dog.
We're right on. I mean, this is what I looked at before the season, so this is probably why I'm not as upset as I should be, or the rest of the fan base is, because I looked at the defensive averages, the scoring averages on offense and defense, and Chad Morris's second year at SMU, and they're right in line with what we are this year. They didn't improve that much on offense. They stayed stagnant on offense, and then made the biggest jump in year 3. So I kind of set myself up for this. So we're scoring 22.5 a game or something like that, and is right on pace with what we were last year. We're going to score 21 points, man. Mississippi State has a pretty decent defense that they don't give up, and they're not going to throw in the towel if they get down 14-0. They're going to come battling back like they did against, A&M and LSU. They fought. They may have gotten beat up a little bit, but on the scoreboard. But if you watch the game, they were coming after them with whatever they had. So I don't expect them to lay down at all. And while as Arkansas kind of has a little bit of quit in them, so that's concerning. I still see it. I think Mississippi State's gonna cover the 7-point spread, and I think it's gonna be something like 30-21. And I don't think that KJ is going to get that many snaps. That's what everybody wants to see. Yeah. And that's the
everybody's going to be mad.
Oh yeah, it's just going to throw more gas on this tire fire.
Oh, wait till the walk and talk after this one if they don't win and they don't play KJ.
Just stay out of traffic. I get worried. I get worried with you playing in that crosswalk where everybody gets hit.
Yeah. Do you ever look at this Coach's Hot Seat site? Do you ever pay any attention to that kind of stuff? I mean, right now they've got, in their top 10, they have 4 coaches who are in their second year. 4 coaches in year 2.
Everything's getting sped up. Lane Kiffin starts offering kids as 7th graders. It speeds up the recruiting cycle. Now everybody's got to hop on and
for no reason at all.
Analyzing sophomores, and it's the same thing that everybody
I blame the NCAA for so much of this, for moving up, for allowing the recruiting calendar to move up, but at the same time not allowing you to offer an official scholarship to a player until their senior year. So you can just tell any recruit anytime you want when they're in 7th grade, hey, you got a scholarship offer, and it doesn't mean a thing. The recruit thinks it means something, but to the coach it means absolutely nothing. And And this is all on the NCAA. I mean, and now you have this early recruiting period, which is good in a lot of ways because of the move, everything moved up, but it's also really bad in a lot of ways because this is right when you have coaches being fired. I mean, you have like even not even head coaches, but assistant coaches. I mean, how many times do we see where Arkansas might lose a prospect to a linebacker to some other school, and then right after National Signing Day, their position coach is fired or resigns,
right.
And that's in the plans the whole time. They're just not being honest with the recruit. And so now you have like this hurry to get all these recruits signed, and all these teams have coaching searches, right at the same time. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't give these guys any time to get things going. And maybe that's why we see so many second-year coaches. I mean, this is when this thing really took off, isn't it? With early signing period. So they lose. I mean, Scott Frost is a good example, number 8 on the coach's hot seat. So Scott Frost had an undefeated team. He wanted to coach his team in the bowl game. So he's splitting time between Nebraska and UCF and probably didn't put together a good recruiting class or wasn't able to, hit the transfer market or probably the way he should have. And, now he's on the hot seat. So you got Joe Moorhead and Chad Morris, 1 and 2 in that respective order, facing each other this weekend. Whoever wins this game is going to, I guess, move back, and whoever loses is going to be number 1. And then you've got Scott Frost at number 8. Who else? Jeremy Pruitt at number 9. So you got 4 coaches right there from in their second year, including 3 from the SEC.
Well, we got to know? 10. We don't know Yurichek's history on hiring and firing. And wasn't when he went? Didn't he hire?
He's had success. Coaches have left him. When he's at Houston, coaches have left him.
What didn't he bring on Major Applewhite? I feel like that's
brought on Applewhite, but he didn't fire him.
But he was looking at Chad Morris when that hire was made. I want to say that there was some sort of crossover.
Yeah. Hired the Texas coach. So I don't know. Did he hire? How long was he? I can't even remember how long he was there. He wasn't there long enough to hire someone. So I guess it was the only guy he's hired is Texas guy.
Hell, he didn't even hire Kelvin Sampson.
No, he didn't. Although a lot of people, assumed that during the coaching search that he had hired him.
So you think he gets 1 of 4, he stays, or it's going to be a coin flip?
I don't know. I will say again, I do think the best possible outcome is that they rally and win these games here at the end, and that he's given another year. I think that's the best possible outcome. I mean, you fire him, then you fired a coach after 2 years. You leave a recruiting class hanging. You had that good recruiting class last year. You needed to put another good one together. There's the uncertainty who you could get, who wants this job, back-to-back 2-win seasons. There's all those questions. And, that didn't even talk about buyout money, with Brett Bielema and Chad Morris. They're trying to work something out, I guess. Not work it out yet, but they will get down to that with Brett Bielema's contract. So there's all those things. It's just not a good situation, I mean, but if he loses out, it's going to be a toxic. You know how toxic it gets in the offseason.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't have any support right now. There are very few fans out there who have an opinion, to keep him. But what do you think? What do you think if he doesn't win any games from here on out?
Well,
put yourself on the other side of that. It's hard for fans to, to really, or anybody to, if I say Arkansas is going to win 3 of their next 4. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying hypothetically. Arkansas is going to win 3 of their next 4. And there are fans that will say, I don't care, get rid of him now. But you can't put yourself in that, how you're going to feel from an emotional standpoint after all that happens. It's hard to project that emotion.
I guess if we hear that there's a meeting at the Blessings after the season and Chad Morris doesn't have a plan to, get rid of Chavis and put him out to pasture and hire somebody else to run that defense, which who is going to come in and want that job? So your head coach is on the chopping block if he gets a year 3, and you're going to come in and take over something that's, none of your players and all that. I don't know who's going to sign up for that. I wouldn't. And
you can get things turned around though. I mean, I wrote an article. I don't want to rehash what I talked about on Monday too much, but I wrote an article just about, comparing Chad Morris' performance to other second-year coaches. You can read that at HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com, and comparing him also to coaches that were fired, comparing him to coaches that took over for coaches that left for, another opportunity, comparing him to first-year coaches, and comparing him to programs that underwent scandals. And, I mean, a few years ago, we're talking Baylor's done. Baylor's not recovering, right? I mean, their program, they might as well give them the death penalty is what a lot of people were saying. So you had all of this stuff going on, And fast forward, they go 1-11 under Rule his first year. Then they win 7 his second year. And now they're undefeated, 7-0. I mean, in a pretty short time. And that's a pretty big, that's as big a scandal gets, right up there, with what happened with, it's pointless trying to argue which is worse with what happened at Penn State. And you look at Penn State and they're undefeated. They never had a losing season, and they're undefeated 8-0 right now. And then you throw it to things like sanctions. Ole Miss is better than Arkansas is, and they were busted on national, in probably the most humiliating way possible at the NFL draft, when they thought they were going to have this glorious day, and then, all this stuff happens. But they are in better shape than Arkansas is overall. And you look at Ohio State, this is the crazy one. 2011, all this stuff goes down in Ohio State, and this is very intimate for Razorback fans because of the Sugar Bowl that year. They allowed all those players to play, provided that they would serve suspensions next year, including Tressel and all that stuff. Long story short, they ended up firing Tressel, bringing in Fickle to coach for a year, and they went 6-7. And actually, I guess made a bowl game if they went 6-7. But they had all that happen, and then 3 years later, they win the national championship. And I just look at that and I'm like, way to show them, NCAA. People are like, this is going to cripple them. Go back and read headlines from back then. It's going to cripple them. Penn State, give them the death penalty. Baylor, death penalty. All of them are in much better shape than Arkansas. And I hear this rhetoric out there that says Arkansas is never going to recover from this. And it's hard to imagine a scenario where that's going to happen. But it was hard to imagine a scenario for those schools where they're going to be the same again, especially in so short a time. So it can happen where Arkansas can get back, and it doesn't seem like it can. But it all comes down to coaching, man. You got to have the right coach in hand. People can say it's the Jimmys and Joes, and it is, but all that stuff comes down to coaching.
It's a tough pill to swallow, but maybe we're just a basketball and baseball school. That's it.
Well, this is still a football school. It's still a football school. I can tell you that just by traffic, what people are reading, what people are hitting. Even though people are upset right now, I can sit back and kick back and write, just off the top of my head, a football story that's just okay. Versus going to a baseball game, covering the baseball game. As popular as baseball is, as much as people like watching the baseball game, I can do all of that stuff, go to the game for 4 hours, do the press conference, write a story, transcribe all that stuff, and that football story that took me 30 minutes to write is going to outperform the baseball story. That's the truth.
There's a lot of people that hate losing more than they like winning. And I'm not one of those people. I'm a front runner.
I don't know. I hate the losing, man. I hate it. I hate losing, and it's something that I have to work on personally because I don't like doing something if I can't be the best at it. So golf is particularly hard for me because you put in a lot of work and you still just suck. You still just suck, and you think you got it figured out one day, and it's just so hard. You have to think. The pros, they miss putts. They do terrible, but I'm not the best loser. My daughter's not the best loser, and it's something I've had to work on with her too. But at the same time, cultivate the competitiveness because that's important too.
Where did the red hair come from? I need to know this. I know it's a recessive gene. And
well,
my girlfriend's a ginger.
Everybody asks that, but it has to come from both sides of the family. It has to come from mother and father. That's one of the questions. I probably get asked that question every single time somebody meets us. Where did the red hair come from? But it comes from my grandmother, and her sister had red hair. My wife's a little further down the road. It's interesting that my wife carried the trait all the way down. So, and baldness doesn't just come from your mother.
No, it's your dad's. It's your mom's dad.
Comes from both sides.
Well,
Doesn't matter.
I'm off to the airport. I'm losing connection a little bit. I got Wu-Tang tonight for the 24th anniversary tour at Red Rocks. Going as I got the bear coat from Workaholics.
Do you?
and the girl's gonna be Killa B.
Workaholics. Have you seen the new show with the Righteous Gemstones with Adam Devine from Workaholics?
No.
Dude, it's so funny.
I can only take him in small doses. He's kind of one of those tried.
Well, it's got your older brother. It's got your older brother in it, Danny McBride. Yeah, we were talking about who Pete said you look like a valet guy who would take your car on a joyride. And I
hear all the rips.
I said you look like Danny McBride's slightly more handsome younger brother, which I think is a fair Fair look.
Well, yeah, I don't know what I look like right now. I look like it's my first day of homelessness.
Oh, I bet you look like
But
hell right now, coming out of a tent in minus 12 degrees in Colorado.
Three days without a shower. My goal in life is to make so much money that I live out of my truck. So I'm just like navigate the countryside.
If that happens, I'll come join you. You could support me.
I'm pretty much halfway there.
I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. So we're off to Uray in the morning, and then Moab after that. So
nice.
I've got a couple long legs left. I don't no idea where I'm watching the game, but somebody's gonna be buying a TV at a bar in either Colorado or Utah after Saturday.
I think you'll be good with the internet. All right, man.
Take
care.
Safe.
All right, brother. Talk to you later. All right, that's Keith Grayson. Keith does a great job on the pod. I love having Keith on. He just provides a different aspect, and we go off on random tangents every once in a while. The disgraced former president and founder of the Arizona Razorback Club, and Keith Grayson Realty. If you're out in that neck of the woods, check him out. So, what else we got here? I didn't get to any questions today, and I apologize. Trey, do you think the half off offer if the Hogs win is possible this next year? We'll do something if the Hogs win. We're going to do something if the Hogs win, okay? We may even do something anyway. I mean, we've got this new CBS deal. Again, for anybody watching, the CBS deal, it's a $99 value a year, and you get it for as long as you have the subscription. So if you have the subscription for 7 years, it's like getting $700 for this free service, CBS All Access, commercial free with your subscription at HawgSports.com. There's an article on the front page that describes everything, how to get that. But one of the great things about being under the umbrella of CBS is we are able to offer this. So it's like $100 for your subscription to HawgSports for a year, and it's $100 for this. You get one of them free. That's the great way to look at it for as long as your subscription is there, and it's not going away. And we're not raising prices or anything like that. It's $1 right now for your first year at for your first month at HawgSports.com. We're not giving the store away, but $1 for your first month at HawgSports.com right now, or 30% off for your first year with a 7-day free trial. Plenty of ways to watch and listen on Facebook Live, always streaming live on Facebook Live. Throw us a thumbs up if you haven't done so right now. Follow the page. That way you're notified anytime we put content out. Always just put free content on our Facebook page. So if you want to know what's happened what's happened with Razorbacks, then check out our free content. If you want to know what's going to happen, things like Danny West recruiting, the recruiting podcast, all of those types of things, then you'll want to sign up at HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. And as I mentioned, CBS All Access comes with that, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Also available on YouTube. I'll be uploading to that right after this. Be sure to subscribe to that page and hit the notifications bell so you know every time we upload a new video. 75% of the people out there who watch the video on YouTube are not subscribed to the channel, so go ahead and subscribe if you like the content, and so you're notified as well. Apple Podcasts, throw us a 5-star review. Say something nice about us if you like the content. Right now, I think we're like a dozen from being the most rated Razorback show, and we're the highest rated at 5 stars right now. Also available on Spotify and Stitcher. So a lot of ways to tune in to Hog Sports Live. Be sure to check out HawgSports.com for all the latest and greatest Razorback news. Some of that greatest stuff is few and far between right now, but we'll have some more basketball stuff. Hopefully going to be an exciting basketball season. Regular season starts on Tuesday, so that's very exciting. So I want to thank all of you for joining us. I want to thank Keith Grayson for hopping in, giving his take. Throw us a thumbs up if you haven't done so already once more. For Keith Grayson, this has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. Happy Halloween, and we will catch you next time.